Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padvidikacharya Ashtottara to the Sri Srimad's Divine Grace. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Ashtottara to the Sri Srimad's Divine Grace. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Shikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On the 17th day of September, 2025, in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 9, entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge, text number 7. I think it's 7. At the bottom of page 385. Sarvabhutani Kaunteya Prakatim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshaye Punasthani Kalpado Visvajamyaham Sarvabhutani Kaunteya Prakatim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshaye Punasthani Kalpadao Visvajamyaham Sarvabhutani Kaunteya Prakatim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshaye Punasthani Kalpadao Visvajamyaham Sarvabhutani Kaunteya Prakatim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshaye Punasthani Kalpado Visvajamyaham. Chad, go ahead. Sarvabhutani Kaunteya Prakatim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshaye Punasthani Kalpada Visvajamyaham Sarvabhutani Kaunteya Prakatim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshaye Punasthani Kalpado Visvajamyaham Sarvabhutani Kaunteya Prakatim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshaye Punasthani Kalpado Visvajamyaham. Bhakti Joe. Sarvabhutani Kaunteya Prakatim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshaye Punasthani Kalpado Visvajamyaham. Anyone online? Oh, I'm sorry. Ami. Sarvabhutani Kaunteya Prakatim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshaye Punasthani Kalpado Visvajamyaham. Anyone online? I guess not. Did you want to try? Go ahead, I'm sorry. Not, no, in the book. Yeah. You need to study the pronunciation of the different Sanskrit words. Do you have a Bhagavad Gita at home? Anyway, yeah, that may not have it. Anyway, we can supply you with the pronunciation so that you can learn how to do it if you want to. It's a little difficult at first. Better if you purchase one. What is it? It's $10 or something?
I can help you out. We'll take care of it after.
Yeah, there's a softback that'll help you too. Okay, we'll just read. I'll read the word by words. Sarvabhutani, all created entities. Kaunteya, O son of Kunti. Prakatim, nature. Yanti, enter. Mamikam, my. Kalpakshaye, at the end of the millennium. Punaha, again. Tani, all those. Kalpa ado, in the beginning of the millennium. Visvajami, create. Aham, I. Translation. Krishna says to Arjuna, O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency I create them again. Purport. The creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this material cosmic manifestation are completely dependent on the supreme will of the personality of Godhead. Quote, at the end of the millennium means at the death of Brahma. Brahma lives for 100 years of his calculation, and his one day is calculated at 4,320,000,000 of our earthly years. His night is of the same duration. His month consists of 30 such days and nights, and his year of 12 months. After 100 such years, when Brahma dies, the devastation or annihilation takes place. This means that the energy manifested by the Supreme Lord is again wound up in himself. Then again, when there is a need to manifest the cosmic world, it is done by his will. Bahusyam. Although I am one, I shall become many. This is the Vedic aphorism, Chandogya Upanishad 6.2.3. He expands himself in his material energy, and the whole cosmic manifestation again takes place. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, as often happens in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is helping us by chanting his own glories. And one of them has to do with the creation and the maintenance and the final annihilation of this manifestation. Now, we all go through a little miniature one of those every time we're born. We're also not existing in this body, and then by the process of creation, birth, we come into being. And over time, we change, and there are these 6 changes, the birth, growth, development, producing byproducts, having children or whatever, and then deterioration and disappearance, death. Everything animate has those 6 changes, more or less. And it's inevitable. But again, just to emphasize, these are the changes of the body, of the external. But the soul doesn't change. Doesn't die, is not born, doesn't die, doesn't get old, you see. We are this irreducible particle of consciousness called the Atma, or the soul. Atma can also refer to the mind and the body senses, but mostly it refers to the soul. And Krishna is also Atma, but he's Paramatma. He's the supreme Atma, or soul, within the body. So as he says in the 13th chapter, Chaitra Gyam Chapimam Vidhi, I am also the knower of every body. I am the other soul in each body. So we'll learn more of that in the 13th chapter. So here, Krishna is saying, let's see, we just did 7, right? Now, just to get a kind of a grasp, although it's inconceivable, about the incredible lengths of time we're talking about here. The first created being is Brahma. He's actually sometimes called Swayambhu, meaning self-born. He doesn't get born in the ordinary way. He appears on a lotus growing from the navel of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, who is an expansion of Mahavishnu. We have Mahavishnu in the corner there, and that's his setting. And breathing out, all the universes are coming. Then another expansion, he expands into each universe as Garbha Udaka. They're all Udaka. Udaka means ocean. So the Garbha, or the fetus type, is laying on this ocean that actually he creates, because there's no place to lie. So from his body, from the perspiration, it fills up half the universe, and he's lying there on, I think, Shesha. And from his navel eventually grows this lotus, huge lotus, and Brahma appears on the lotus. Who can conceive of such a thing? And he doesn't know what's going on. How did I get here? What's happening, right? So he tries to investigate. It's quite dark, and it's on this lotus. So the only thing he's got to work with is the lotus. So he tries going down in the stem of the lotus, but he can't really find out his origin. So he comes back up, and he hears 2 syllables repeated 3 times. Tapa, tapa, tapa. Tapa means austerity. So being very intelligent, he has 4 heads, although he's the smallest Brahma. Other Brahmas have many more heads, but still. So he said, okay, that means I must meditate. So he meditates for a long, long time. And then Krishna, he manifests within his heart the knowledge. This is explained in the first verse, very first verse of the Bhagavatam. Janmad yasya tonvayadi tadatascharteshu bhigyasavat Tene Brahma Vridaya Adi Kaviye. Now, that Brahma word is not Brahma. Brahma has the long A at the end. That's the knowledge, the Brahma knowledge. Brahma Vrida, in the heart. Adi Kaviye. Adi Kaviye means the first wise person is Brahma. Adi Kaviye. So Krishna doesn't describe that here. He's just describing in general the creation and maintenance. And so now here it says 1 day. 1 day is 12 hours, is actually 4,320,000,000 years. A full day is 8,640,000,000 years. And so many, 7 days in a week, 30 days in a month, and you go into years, and he lives 100 years, comes out to, this is how long he lives, compared to our 60, 70, 80, 100 years at maximum. 311 trillion and 40 billion years is his lifetime. So when he appears before Hiranyakashipu, right? And to stop him, meditating and disrupting the universe. So Hiranyakashipu thinks, well, this may be God, so he wants to get liberation. And Brahma says, well, can't get liberation. I also die, even a long time. So you know the story. He gives him all kinds of benedictions that he figures, well, now I got liberation through the back door, I got eternal life. But he doesn't, Nrsimhadev appears and meets all the requirements and kills him. So this is, all of this, there's several verses like this in the 9th chapter and many more throughout the book, where Krishna is explaining his glories. He's describing, I am the full creator, I am the object of all sacrifices, right, at the end of the 5th chapter. Sarvabhutani konte pakatim yatima. No, that's how's it so? Bhoktaram yagitapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. Sarvaloka maheshwaram. I am the great controller, Ishvara, of all the lokas, all the planets. Krishna's declaring this. But he still has this very personal relationship with us. The 3rd line, Suridam sarvabhutanam. I'm the most well-wishing friend of every living entity within the heart. And the one who knows this can achieve real peace. It's the peace formula. So Krishna, he's glorifying himself because he's the most authoritative. He knows best all these incredible things. And we're meant to accept these as true, and they should inspire us to take up the role of servant again, to accept the service, which, as we learned at the beginning, is susukam kartamaviyam. It's very happily performed, and it's very natural, and leads to the King of Knowledge being manifest in our hearts. So let's go on. Text 8. Prakatim svama vashtabhya visvajami punak punaha bhuttagramamimam kritsnam avashang prakate vishat. The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again, and under my will, it is annihilated at the end. Purport. The material world is the manifestation of the inferior energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This has already been explained several times. At the creation, the material energy is let loose as the Mahat Tattva, into which the Lord, as his first Purusha incarnation, Mahavishnu, enters. He lies within the causal ocean and breathes out innumerable universes, and into which each universe the Lord again enters as Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. Each universe is in that way created. He still further manifests himself as Chirodakashaya Vishnu, and that Vishnu enters into everything, even into the minute atom. This fact is explained here. He enters into everything. Now, as far as the living entities are concerned, they are impregnated into this material nature. And as a result of their past deeds, they take different positions. Thus, the activities of this material world begin. The activities of the different species of living beings are begun from the very moment of the creation. It is not that all is evolved. The different species of life are created immediately along with the universe. Men, animals, beasts, birds, everything is simultaneously created, because whatever desires the living entities had at the last annihilation are again manifested. It is clearly indicated here by the word avasham that the living entities have nothing to do with this process. In other words, it automatically happens. The state of being in their past life, in the past creation, is simply manifested again, and all this is done simply by His will. This is the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And after creating different species of life, He has no connection with them. The creation takes place to accommodate the inclinations of the various living entities, and so the Lord does not become involved with it. Now this recalls to mind a verse I think I referred to in one of these recent classes, Prabhupada would often quote, from the Upanishads, I think it's Shvedashvata Upanishad. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate, natat samasthyabhyadikas cha drishyate, padasya shakti vividhaya vishuyate swabhaviki bhaviki jnana bola kriyacha. So the first phrase is natasya karyam. He doesn't have any duties to perform. When you think about it, a duty is something that's given to you by a higher power, a higher authority. But there's no higher authority. So he doesn't have to do anything. Everything is done by his expansion, such as Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshapis, and his various energies. So this is great. In other words, he's the supreme manager, but it's all taking place, by his expansions. Even the whole business of having to be within the hearts of everyone and give them intelligence and guide, that's done by his expansion as the super soul. So what is he doing? Playing. Leela. That's the whole point. Is that God is, if He's truly all-powerful, what would you do if you were God? Would you say, well, I'll minimize the suffering so it's tolerable, and I'll do this and that? No. You would completely, minimize the suffering to zero. And all of this creation, which is done out of His mercy so that we have a chance to get back to Godhead, and there's millions of universes. That's all done by His expansion, so He doesn't have to worry about it personally. And so then He's free to cavort in Goloka Vrindavan, Even the Narayans, they're, officially ruling the Vishnus, at the Vaikuntha planets. So that's the wonderful thing about Krishna. He's all powerful, but He's also all loving, all beautiful, And I highly recommend. Who could disagree? The nectar of devotion. I was reading some of the qualities that Krishna has, these 64, main qualities, of which we can possess 50. Then there's 5 that only Vishnu can form, and 5 that even he can't have, that Shiva can have, and then 5 that Vishnu's can have, all the way up to 60. Then there's these 4 unique qualities only Krishna has. How's it go? I forget the Sanskrit, but he has this unlimited leela, and he's surrounded by these loving devotees headed by the gopis, and he plays that flute. Only Krishna plays the flute, and he's always engaged in all attractive pastimes, something like that. So these 4 unique qualities distinguish Krishna from everyone else. And so these 64 qualities are actually enumerated. They're also there in Sanskrit in the Manjalila. So I memorized them when I read. I won't give you the whole list, but it says Ayang Neta Suram Yanga Sarvasal Lakshananvita Ruchidas Tejasa Yukto Baliyan Vayasanvata Vivada Bhuta Bhasha Vid. He's a knower of all kinds of languages, very skillful speaker. He can convince anything of it. So it goes up like that. And then Rupa Goswami, he described each one of those qualities. He gives 1 or 2 verses describing it, how Krishna manifested in his pastimes. So it's very enlivening because you get a much more broad and full view of Krishna's personality and how he manifests these wonderful qualities in his pastimes, in his all-attractive pastimes. So that's really what Krishna consciousness is all about. Some of you may know this verse. It's also in the CC. What does the word, the very word and name Krishna mean? So it described the syllable Krish. That's all the attractive nature of Krishna. And the Na is the bliss. So you combine the bliss with this all attractiveness and you get Krishna, the Supreme Brahman. Then what about Rama? How's it go? This verse. Anante yogino ramante satyananda charatmani iti rama padainasu padam brahma vidiyate. the word Rama indicates the supreme pleasure that one can have in devotional service and so forth. And so therefore the word Rama is also a transcendental name of God, indicating the Supreme Brahman. But it's fascinating, just that one word, Krishna, all attractive. You can see, there's one syllable, and then you read in Nectar Devotion, what makes Krishna so all attractive? The beauty and everything like that. So the Sanskrit names and words, they have tremendous potency. If you can just hear them, then you can begin to experience Krishna within the name. That's the whole idea. So this is part of his inconceivable energy. So he's giving us in this 9th chapter this part of it, his powers and how he creates and how he maintains and destroys, and how this. We can think of Krishna and remember him. Many devotees, I want to memorize this whole chapter. I think if I went over it again, I could probably do it again. Because it's a wonderful meditation on Krishna. And you can apply it in your daily life, as a devotee. So, any questions on this verse? By my will it is automatic. By my will is annihilated again and again. Okay, check 6, number 9. Natamang tani karmani nibadnandi dhananjaya udasina vadasinam asaktang teshu karmasu. O Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached from all these material activities, seated as though neutral. Purport. One should not think in this connection that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no engagement. In his spiritual world, he is always engaged. Now this brings up one other point before I forget. In that verse I chanted, Natasikaryam karanam chabijate, the first words say he has no duty to perform. So in other words, he's managing this incredible creation with all of the different universes. I can't even conceive of it. But he doesn't have to worry about it. How about that planet, 68 million miles from here? Is everything going nicely over there? I got to get a report. No, it's not like that. He knows everything immediately is happening. And it's all being taken care of by his expansions and his energies. And so he doesn't have to do anything in order to manage it. So again, sometimes you have to watch this, the language. Because English is probably his second language. So he'll often say that he has nothing to do, meaning he doesn't have to do anything. You see how you could easily confuse that? He doesn't have to do anything. He has nothing to do. But has nothing to do, well, he has a lot to do. It's time to go dance with the gopis. And then I got to come back and herd the cows and let my mother, So he has things to do, but all of them are blissful, engagements. So this, he doesn't have to do anything in order to manage everything. Okay. Now, as far as the living entities are concerned, is that where I ended? Okay. They are impregnated into the material nature, and as a result of their past deeds, they take different positions. Thus, the activities of this material world begin. The activities of the different species of living beings are begun from the very moment of the creation. Okay, I read all that, you see. Okay. How far did I get? Avasham, the state of being in the past life, in the past creation, is simply manifested again, and all this is done simply by his will. This is the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of God. You don't read that very often. And after creating different species of life, he has no connection with them. The creation takes place to accommodate the inclinations of the various living entities, and so the Lord does not become involved with it. Now, having no connection doesn't mean that he's not accompanying us. And in the human form especially, he manifests incarnations and representatives, and he speaks the Bhagavad Gita because we have the intelligence, if we're fortunate, to be receptive, to understand the science and to do those things which will take us back to Godhead. So in that sense, he's concerned. But lower animals and species, they're automatically coming up, and eventually they all come to the human form. And we've been there. We've done that. We don't want to remember how we were roaming around like a dog or insect. But it happened. So we should take advantage of this human life and study the Bhagavad Gita as you're doing. So you're using the human life nicely. Text 9. Did I read that? Okay. Did the purport too? Okay. So this word cannot bind me. One should not think in this connection that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no engagement. Okay. So the Prabhupada is making my point. In his spiritual world, he's always engaged. In the Brahma Samhita 5.6, it is stated, Atma Rama Sitasyasti Prakritya Nasamagamaha. He's always involved in his eternal, blissful, spiritual activities, but he has nothing to do with these material activities. Material activities are being carried out by his different potencies. The Lord is always neutral in the material activities of the created world. This neutrality is mentioned here with the word udasinavat. Although he has control of every minute detail of material activities, he's sitting as if neutral. The example can be given of a high court judge sitting on his bench. By his orders, so many things are happening. Someone is being hanged, someone is being put into jail, someone is awarded a huge amount of wealth, but still he's neutral. He has nothing to do with all that gain and loss. Similarly, the Lord is always neutral, although he has his hand in every sphere of activity. In the Vedanta Sutra 2.134, it is stated, Vaishamya nair grinye na. He's not situated in the dualities of this material world. He is transcendental to these dualities. Nor is he attached to the creation and annihilation of this material world. The living entities take their different forms in the various species of life according to their past deeds, and the Lord doesn't interfere with them. So, we're very much, bound by what's going on in this world, we can see. And there's so many things that have to go just right for us to just live a normal life and be able to function. And the special quality of being attracted to hear about these things. It's all begins with the eagerness to hear. That's why at the beginning of Bhagavatam, the second chapter, the sages of Naimisharanya, they asked Sudha Goswami, what is that ultimate dharma by which the living entities can actually become happy and blissful? And so he has this wonderful series of verses beginning with Savai Pungsang Paro Dharmo Yato Bhakti Radhokshaje Ahaitukya Pratayata Yatma Suprasidati. So he doesn't waste any time. Ahaitukya Pratayata, unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service to the transcendental Lord. Now this word Adhokshaja is a name for Krishna, but it's not a name that you'll find the residents of Vrindavan chanting or hearing, Doesn't have anything to do with Leela. It simply means he who is beyond the knowledge, the ascending process of knowledge, which is like the scientific. We cannot perceive him with our present senses, our mind, our senses are beyond. But we have to have, what we can perceive is his representative, the pure devotee. And by his or her influence, we can get the faith that he exists, because we can see the influence in that person and the faith that we see in the books. So on that basis, by hearing and practicing devotional service, we can come to feel the presence of the Lord in our own lives and begin to perceive him. And so that's a key factor. And so he says, and he goes on, and then it all keys on getting the taste for hearing. Shushu Shoshadhanasa Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahatsevaya Vipra Punyatirtana Shevana. The Shushu Sho is a word based on that means ardent hearing or submissive all reception. When you read Prabhupada's books, you may come across that. It means the willingness to hear and be receptive, not just to go to, in one ear and out the other kind of thing. So, with faith, Shradhan Vasudeva Kata Ruchi, to develop the ruchi, the taste for hearing in that way, by associating with devotees. Syan, it comes into being, it's produced, Syan Mahat Sevaya, by serving the Mahatma, the great souls. Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevanat, those souls who are themselves walking places of pilgrimage, you see, pure devotees. So from that, thank you for coming and visiting. We have a class for another 25 minutes or so, and then we'll have darshan and kirtan, if you will. So we have some books I think he's going to get. You can follow along. Bhagavad Gita. And we are on page 388. So the next verse is one of these very memorable verses, often quoted, very important verse. Page 388. Yeah, text 10 of chapter 9. Maya Dakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam Hetunane Kaunteya Jagad Vipadivartate. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Purport: it is clearly stated here that the Supreme Lord, although aloof from all the activities of the material world, remains the Supreme Director. The Supreme Lord is the Supreme Will and the background of all this material manifestation. But the management is being conducted by the material nature. Krishna also states in the Bhagavad Gita that of all the living entities in different forms and species, I am the Father. That is in the 14th chapter. The Father gives seeds to the womb of the mother for the child, and similarly the Supreme Lord, by his mere glance, injects all the living entities into the womb of the material nature, and they come out in their different forms and species according to their last desires and activities. All these living entities, although born under the glance of the Supreme Lord, take their different bodies according to their past deeds and desires. So the Lord is not directly attached to the material creation. He simply glances over material nature. Material nature is thus activated, and everything is created immediately. Because he glances over material nature, there is undoubtedly activity on the part of the Supreme Lord, but he has nothing to do with the manifestation of the material world directly. This example is given in the Smriti. When there is a fragrant flower before someone, the fragrance is touched by the smelling power of the person, yet the smelling and the flower are detached from one another. There is a similar connection between the material world and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Excuse me. Actually, he has nothing to do with this material world, but he creates by his glance and ordains. In summary, material nature, without the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, cannot do anything. Yet the Supreme Personality is detached from all material activities. So that word Maya Adhyakshena, by my superintendence. Now a lot of that is taking place through the Super Soul. He's in every atom, he's in every heart. And in that way, Representative Krishna is carrying on everything. And this way, Jagat Vipadivartate, the universe is functioning nicely, you know. And so this idea, you know, that somehow this all arose by chance, you know, this is the view of the demons, right? We get Jagadadhu Anisharam, Aparasparasam Bhutam, Kimajet Kamohitika, is absurd. Because everywhere we look at our own bodies, I like to point out that if you really want proof for the existence of God, just contemplate the complexity of your own body and how that's working and all the things that have to go on just nice so that you can just live your life. You know, this the brain working. They still don't know exactly how that is going on, you know, and they're always coming up with new things. So to try to posit that somehow this came about by chance over a long time, no. There's no question that it could. As I pointed out in a class recently, but some of you weren't here, that my old friend Sariputta Prabhu, he was a highly qualified mathematician. He was a PhD, you know, and so he was really intelligent. And he wrote a book called "Proof by Information Theory: How Life Cannot Arise from Matter." This was his specialty in college, information theory. I don't know, you know, much about it, but the idea is that there's so much information just in the functioning of every organism. There's so many things that have to go just right? Just think of the temperature. I learned when I was a kid, you know, probably 98.6, maybe centigrade is different. But there's a certain temperature that keeps things going. And if the child is sick, the mother feels ahead, oh, you've got a fever, you know, so you better stay home from school, you know. So that means the body is trying to get rid of the whatever the infection is, So all of the ways in which our own body functions and all the other species of life as well. There's so much information, so many things that have to happen just right, that it's absolutely absurd to think that somehow this all arose from a big soup of chemicals, It doesn't make any sense. And it's wrong. This is the view of the demons. What is that? Asatyam apatishtam te jagadahu anishwaram aparaspadasambhutam kimanyat kamahoitakam. They say there's no ultimate truth. There's no foundation of everything. Asatyam jagadahu anishwaram. They don't just believe that there's no controller. They declare it, as a doctrine, and anyone who disagrees is just a fool. This is the atheists. Prabhupada would sometimes conflate the agnostics and the atheists, and there's a reason for that. I realized fairly recently. There's a word in Sanskrit, nastika, right, which means an atheist. It means it doesn't exist, not asti, right? So you can see the similarity between agnostic and nastika, right? But agnostic means someone who doesn't know, and he'll admit he doesn't know. But I think it means the real orthodox agnostics say no one can know. No one can know. I don't know, and no one can know. So stop preaching to me. But anyway, it's interesting. So agnostic is a platform you can actually learn about Krishna. I mean, I was agnostic. I didn't know, but I didn't believe yet. But I was willing to investigate and to read. And now I hope I can be categorized as a theist. I'm a believer. So Maya Jakshena. So Krishna is overseeing everything by his expansions, by his representatives. But nothing happens without his sanction. It's going on like that. So he's present everywhere. All right, now the next verse, these are all famous verses. Avajananti mamudha manushim tanam ashritam padam bhavam majananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. The fools, those are the mudhas. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. Purport. From the other explanations of the previous verses in this chapter, it is clear that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although appearing like a human being, is not a common man. The Personality of Godhead, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the complete cosmic manifestation, cannot be a human being. Yet there are many foolish men who considered Krishna to be merely a powerful man and nothing more. Actually, he is the original Supreme Personality, as is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Ishwarak Parama Krishna. He is the Supreme Lord. There are many Ishwaras, controllers, and one appears greater than the other. In the ordinary management of affairs in the material world, we find some official or director, and above him there is a secretary, and above him a minister, and above him a president. Each of them is a controller, but one is controlled by another. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that Krishna is the supreme controller, Ishwarak Parama. There are many controllers, undoubtedly, both in the material and spiritual world. But Krishna is the supreme controller, Ishwarak Parama Krishna. And his body is Satchit Ananda, non-material, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. Material bodies cannot perform the wonderful acts described in previous verses. His body is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. That's the Satchit Ananda. Although he is not a common man, the foolish deride him and consider him to be a man. His body is called here Manushim because he is acting just like a man, a friend of Arjuna's, a politician involved in the battle of Kurukshetra. In so many ways, he is acting just like an ordinary man, but actually his body is Satchidananda Vigraha, eternal bliss and knowledge absolute. This is confirmed in the Vedic language also, Satchidananda Rupaya Krishnaya. I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the eternal, blissful form of knowledge. Gopal Tapani Upanishad 1.1. There are other descriptions in the Vedic language also. Tame kam Govindam, you are Govinda, the pleasure of the senses and cows. Satchidananda Vigraham. and your form is transcendental, full of knowledge, bliss, and eternality. Gopaltapani Upanishad 138. Despite the transcendental qualities of Lord Krishna's body, its full bliss and knowledge, there are many so-called scholars and commentators on the Bhagavad Gita who deride Krishna as an ordinary man. The scholar may be born an extraordinary man due to his previous good work, but this conception of Sri Krishna is due to a poor fund of knowledge. Therefore he is called Mudha, for only foolish persons consider Krishna to be an ordinary human being. The foolish consider Krishna an ordinary human being because they do not know the confidential activities of the Supreme Lord and his different energies. They do not know that Krishna's body is a symbol of complete knowledge and bliss, that he is the proprietor of everything that be, and that he can award liberation to anyone. Because they do not know that Krishna has so many transcendental qualifications, they deride him. Nor do they know that the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this material world is a manifestation of his internal energy. He is the master of the material energy. As has been explained in several places, Mama Maya Duratyaya, he claims that the material energy, although very powerful, is under his control, and whoever surrenders unto him can get out of the control of this material energy. If a soul surrendered to Krishna can get out of the influence of material energy, then how can the Supreme Lord, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the whole cosmic nature, have a material body like us? So this conception of Krishna is complete foolishness. Foolish persons, however, cannot conceive that the personality of Godhead, Krishna, appearing just like an ordinary man, can be the controller of all the atoms and of the gigantic manifestation of the universal form. The biggest and the minutest are beyond their conception, so they cannot imagine that a form like that of a human being can simultaneously control the infinite and the minute. Actually, although he is controlling the infinite and the finite, he is apart from all its manifestation. It is clearly stated concerning his yogam aishwaram, his inconceivable transcendental energy, that he can control the infinite and the finite simultaneously, and that he can remain aloof from them. Although the foolish cannot imagine how Krishna, who appears just like a human being, can control the infinite and the finite, those who are pure devotees accept this, for they know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore they completely surrender unto him and engage in Krishna consciousness, devotional service of the Lord. There are many controversies between the impersonalists and the personalists about the Lord's appearance as a human being. But if we consult the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the authoritative texts for understanding the science of Krishna, then we can understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is not an ordinary man, although he appeared on this earth as an ordinary human. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, when the sages headed by Shaunika inquired about the activities of Krishna, they said, Kritavan kila karmani saharamena keshabaha atimartyani bhagavan gudha kapatamanushaha. Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with Balaram, played like a human being, and so masked he performed many superhuman acts. Bhagavatam 1.120. The Lord's appearance as a man bewilders the foolish. No human being could perform the wonderful acts that Krishna performed while he was present on this earth. When Krishna appeared before his father and mother, Vasudeva and Devaki, he appeared with 4 hands, but after the prayers of the parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child. As stated in the Bhagavatam 10.346, Babhuva prakrita shishuhu. He became just like an ordinary child, an ordinary human being. Now, here again it is indicated that the Lord's appearance as an ordinary human being is one of his features of his transcendental body. In the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, also it is stated that Arjuna prayed to see Krishna's form of 4 hands, Tenaiva Rupena Chaturbhujena. After revealing this form, Krishna, when petitioned by Arjuna, again assumed his original human-like form, Manusham Rupam. These different features of the Supreme Lord are certainly not those of an ordinary human being. Some of those who deride Krishna and who are infected with the Mayavad philosophy, impersonalist philosophy, quote the following verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam 3:29-21 to prove that Krishna is just an ordinary man. Aham sarveshu bhuteshu bhutatma vastita sada. The Supreme is present in every living entity. We should better take note of this particular verse from the Vaishnavacharya, like Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, instead of following the interpretation of unauthorized persons who deride Krishna. Jiva Goswami, commenting on this verse, says that Krishna, in his plenary expansion as Paramatma, is situated in the moving and the non-moving entities as the Supersoul. So any neophyte devotee who simply gives his attention to the Archamurti, the form of the Supreme Lord in the temple, and does not respect other living entities, is uselessly worshipping the form of the Lord in the temple. There are three kinds of devotees of the Lord, and the neophyte is in the lowest stage. The neophyte devotee gives more attention to the deity in the temple than to other devotees. So Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur warns that this sort of mentality should be corrected. A devotee should see that because Krishna is present in everyone's heart as the Paramatma, every body is the embodiment of the temple, or the temple of the Supreme Lord. So as one offers respect to the temple of the Lord, he should similarly properly respect each and every body in which the Paramatma dwells. Everyone should therefore be given proper respect and should not be neglected. There are also many impersonalists who deride temple worship. They say that since God is everywhere, why should one restrict himself to temple worship? But if God is everywhere, is he not in the temple or the deity? Although the personalist and the impersonalist will fight with one another perpetually, a perfect devotee in Krishna consciousness knows that although Krishna is the Supreme Personality, he is all-pervading, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Although his personal abode is Goloka Vrindavan, and he is always staying there, by his different manifestations of energy and by his plenary expansion, he is present everywhere in all parts of the material and spiritual creation. So that's quite a purport, probably really. So we'll stop there for today, but we have time for a little poem. And I was thinking of this one. Near the end of the Krishna Karnamrita, one of the main books that Lord Chaitanya found in his tours of South India and brought back. Krishna Karnamrita means the book that's the nectar for Krishna's ears. You can imagine how intimate the author was, that he could tell that Krishna's relishing every verse that he wrote. So this is one near the end of the book. He says, Jaya 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 Deva 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 Trubhavana Mangala Divya Nama Deha Jaya 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 Deva Krishna Deva Shavana Mano Nayanama Tavatara. Oh glory, 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 Lord, oh glory unto thee, who with thy holy name bless all three worlds and set them free. Oh glory, glory, glory unto thee, O Krishna Dev, whose nectar floods our ears and eyes and hearts in endless waves. Hare Krishna. So we can remember that verse as we see the deity of Krishna in 5 minutes. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.